Hey there, this is Dennis Anyone with Dennis Hensley. It's a podcast about making things up and making things happen. I love talking to creative people about how they do it, why they do it, how much we all need it, and I think art and creativity make life worth living. I just saw Marty Supreme the other day, and it's just a marvel, and you're just so glad they made it, that people dug deep creatively, and they found the money, and they did all the stuff, and it exists. And I love talking to people who are in that world of trying to make something, and where would we be without all of this stuff? So that's what we talk about on the show. But this episode is going to be a little bit different. I have a friend named Anna David, who is a writer, and she works with other writers to help them get their books written and stuff. And she has a podcast called Behind the Book Cover. And she invited me to be on it because I've had a couple of books published. It's been decades. It's been a while, but Anna wanted to have me on because she says that I was one of the first people she knew that had a book come out, because we were journalists and kind of kicking around together in the 90s and the magazine days. And she talks about remembering when my first book, Misadventures in the 203, came out, and it was like a moment for her because she was living in LA, and I was kind of in that same world, and I had managed to make this thing happen. So we talk about that and a lot of other stuff. I haven't actually listened back to it, and it's been a while since we did the interview. It was around my birthday, I remember. I may get emotional in the interview. I think I do, because you know what? It's a day that ends in Y, and so there it is. But I think I really enjoyed talking with her, and maybe you will find it interesting about that journey. I think we get into a lot of different things, and I appreciate Anna for having me on and for letting me run it on my podcast. Her podcast is called Behind the Book Cover again, and this is my episode, which came out a few weeks ago. All right, before we get to that, though, I want to remind you that this is the final episode of the year, and I want to thank everyone that supported me. People have joined my Patreon and Substack, which is $5 a month. I do a podcast on there every week called Dennis Hensley's Happy and Gay. It's creativity, pop culture stuff, but it ends with a little nugget about happiness, things I've been thinking about, something I've read, tools that have helped me, all that stuff. I find that topic really interesting. So I want to thank everyone that has subscribed so far. It's on Patreon and Substack. It's the same content on both sites. Dennis Hensley's Happy and Gay. Just search for that if you want to be part of the fun. And right now, the episode that I did most recently is free, I believe. So there's some free stuff up there, including the mismatch game video from a few months ago or a month and a half ago. So check that out. I appreciate it. There's also my virtual tip jar, DennisAnyone.net. You can click on that and leave a tip in my virtual tip jar. Help me cover my expenses and things like that. I always appreciate that. The other thing you can do is become a subscriber to Derek and Romaine's DNR Studios, a bunch of funny, queer, gay shows on this podcast network. You subscribe and you get my show early, and you get all these other great queer shows. So learn about that at dnrstudios.com. All right, and now, without any further ado, here's my interview with Anna David. She's interviewing me on her podcast, Behind the Book Cover.
To the show where writers spill the tea of their messy process and their therapy.
Well, hello there and welcome to Behind the Book Cover. Today I have on the show the very first person I ever knew in my circle who published a book. It was so exciting. It's still called Misadventures in the 213. He also wrote the book Screening Party. He's also done every creative job you can imagine, from inventing board games to writing a podcast for Wondery. And, he's got live shows. He's got everything. He's now a dancer. He's danced on cruise ships. His name is Dennis Hensley. And in this episode, we get into how his relationship with success has changed, and how it took a pretty devastating event for him to realize that getting better at hearing no is the name of the game. And to remember that since everything's impossible, it's absolutely, totally possible to do this. So here's Dennis Hensley. Okay, so Dennis, I was telling
Anna.
you.
How are you?
Hi, Dennis Anyone. I was telling you from outside, you were the very first person, and I'm going to say I knew, but I did not know you. I knew of in my general stratosphere who published a book. And I just thought it was the coolest thing. I couldn't believe it.
That's really moving to me, actually.
Really?
Yeah. It's very sweet of you to say that. Yeah.
What
but,
year?
Looking back, I kind of can't believe it in a way. It came out in 1998, and it was my novel, Misadventures in the 213.
It was iconic because I just don't feel like anybody had kind of done the getting to LA story. Maybe they had. But, there's a lot of sort of old Hollywood,
right?
Day of the Locust kind of thing. But I moved here in 96 and I must have known people who knew you because people were talking about it. I have some bizarre association with the Crunch on Sunset. Did you go there?
There's a chapter set there.
That's why. Oh,
yes,
that's so funny.
I went there. Yeah. I got a free membership because I worked for Detour magazine for a year when they were starting out. In the 90s, people were giving stuff away.
You
could not go to a party without getting a gift bag of every fun thing in the world.
Thousands of dollars worth of things. And
that was the 90s.
The 90s. And I was broke, so it meant a lot.
I'll use that shampoo. I remember one of the gift bag things that I went to, they had socks that were numbered so you could always find the pair.
Which is so smart.
And I wore those things out, but they were a gift bag thing. And also like shampoo and conditioner. I probably still have shampoo and conditioner from the 90s that you would get in those gift bags.
So let's talk about that. So Detour and Details, I would say, which probably people confused the two back in the day.
Yeah.
I have a theory that's fact, which is Gen X was the last generation that said, I can make a living as a writer. We were the end, the death knell. I
feel like we were, maybe. Yes. I haven't been, I think I've checked so far out of that world that I don't know what people think about writing now. I interview authors on my podcast, and I don't know how many of them are making much money on what they write. It feels more like
hobbyish.
A hobbyish thing, yeah. And I have no problem with hobbyish things. I have a million of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, that feels like it was possible then. And
it was
I'm
glamorous.
grateful that I was part of it. Yeah. It was really glamorous.
So you get hooked up with Detour, which I remember desperately wanting to, and I never knew those people.
Well, here's my magazine journey in a nutshell. So in 1990, I'm working as a dancer on Princess Cruises.
Yes.
And I had a break in one of my stints, like you to do 4 months on, have 2 months off. And I auditioned for Madonna's Blonde Ambition tour. And I was a huge fan of hers. And what if I got it? Like, I started dancing a little late, so I wasn't quite I wasn't good enough really. But I auditioned, and she was there. And we went through the whole thing. And I got typed out right away. But the story was so rich and funny to me that I wrote an article about it called Confessions of a Boy Toy Wannabe. And I went to the newsstand and I sent it to every magazine. I bought all the magazines and got the mastheads and wrote query letters to all these magazines. None of them bit. So I did another round, And Movie Line magazine, there was an editor there that read my letter. And he wrote back to me and he said, if your article is as funny as your letter, then I think we might have a deal. And they published my article and he started giving me little assignments. And they started as they were called hype pieces. And they were in the front of the magazine and they were like 250 words interviews. My first one was Florence Henderson. And you would get like $250, $1 a word. Oh,
I know.
I didn't mean to say something so profane on your podcast. So I got enough of those together that I created a little packet and then I sent to other magazines, and Detour came on board. Yep. They liked my stuff and they gave me opportunities. But here's the catch with Detour. They didn't pay anything.
Yeah.
You did it for the sake of doing it and for the exposure and for whatever the opportunity. And I was like, okay. And these are like 2,000, 2,000 or 3,000 word pieces. They were long Q&As, but I loved it.
Yeah.
And I had enough goodwill at Detour that when they got some money invested in them, like a couple of years into my stint there, they gave me a fiction column called Misadventures in the 213, and that's where the book came out of. But I think the key part of that is that I wrote for free for them for like 3 years. Yeah. Big, long stories. But they were amazing stories. Rosie O'Donnell, Carrie Fisher, and those stories led to other paying gigs. But I think people might look at a journey and go, well, it always seemed to go that, well, no, you try writing for free for 3 years for something.
Yeah. Well, that's all you can do today. If not pay.
If not pay. Yeah. So I didn't mind it. Like it was, I felt like I was building something. I was joyful. I got to interview Carrie Fisher in her own bed. And I got to be a part of something. I remember going in to Detour when the new issues would come out and just looking at it. And the photos were so gorgeous, and Detour magazine threw the best parties.
Yep. I remember
the best. And it was an exciting time to be there. And then after a couple of years, other magazines would come on board, and I would periodically send out my stuff. Like, I was hustle like that. And then eventually I was able to quit my day job, which was at the West Valley Jewish Community Center, doing like the newsletter and stuff.
Did not know this.
Yeah, I'm not Jewish, but I would be like, shalom.
Yeah.
And I loved it. Everyone there was really nice. And I eventually was able to quit doing that and be a writer full time, piecing it together with these different freelance gigs.
And you have ever since.
Well, yes and no. Like I have not made that much money sometimes on writing, but I would piece it together with some other part of this creative thing. I rarely had like a day job, although I took a temp job at Crate and Barrel in 2016, part-time, because I had been through something very traumatizing in my career, and my nervous system was a mess. I was really in a bad place, and I wasn't working, and I had a friend that worked there, and I thought, well, maybe I can do this over the holidays. It'll just kind of be something to do and calm me down and all of that. And I remember being in the interview for it, and my nervous system was a wreck, and I was acting like I was a normal person. Yeah. And I wasn't. And then I got it, and I was like, you know what? My journey in entertainment and media and stuff had been so tumultuous and traumatizing that working in the back room at Crate and Barrel was like a balm. You know what? All I have to do is take those spatulas from there to there. Okay. It was minimum wage, but it was fair.
Yeah. Wow.
And that felt like a relief at the time, you know? So I kept going.
And so I would say that most writers I know use the word traumatizing in some way.
Yeah.
Usually relating to their book. But you came on the scene so early, maybe it was pre-trauma time.
Well, the book part wasn't traumatizing. It came later when I was working on a television show. The book was, what happened is I had enough columns built up in Detour that I'm like, maybe there's a book in here. And there was an article in Out magazine, the birdcage was on the cover, that'll give you an idea of the time, about a new guy who had gotten his imprint in publishing named Rob Weisbach. He was the youngest guy to ever get his own imprint. It was a division of William Morrow, I think. And he had done all the Whoopi Goldberg book and the Ellen DeGeneres book. And so he had made his name with these kind of comic celebrity books, and he got his own imprint. And I wrote him a letter and I said, congratulations. I read about you in Out magazine. That's so cool that you're doing that. And I noticed you said that you want to bring new voices to the world. Well, I've been writing this column, ... I got a call like 2 days later.
Wow.
I mean, things fell into place in the 90s. I hustled, and every one of these steps is I did something.
Yeah.
But the phone would ring. Like,
I know.
In a way that, like, I think I used up all my yeses in the 90s. I think I used them all up. But, you know, and so I had a good experience with the book. I liked working with the person. I got a decent advance for a first book. Not life-changing money. Yeah. But I got $22,000.
Which in 1997.
Yeah. Amazing. And the experience with the editor and the publisher and the creative was wonderful. I hustled. I realized early on, though, they had a publicist for me and they did a few things, but then I went, oh shit, I got to do this.
Yeah.
There's no train that you get on and it just takes off. So I would go into every bookstore and sign stock. I would do readings anywhere. I was always setting up my own shit. I did little puppet shows with them. Like, I was relentless in terms of trying to promote that thing. But it's interesting because social media wasn't a thing yet.
Yeah.
And I don't love social media. And I wonder if I had a book out now would I get on that social media? Would I be good at that?
Right.
Could I transfer the hustle that I had in that 90s when that was, not a thing to this moment? I don't love it. I think
it's hard. I think it's for, the following generations.
Yeah.
It's, we're both Gen X. Are you Gen X?
I'm Gen X. Yeah. I turn 61 tomorrow.
That's so
I know.
Crazy.
I know. I kind of can't believe it, but I'm okay with it. I'm not mad at it.
Yeah. Was last year a big one?
No, not really. I tried to do something special for it, but I don't often have existential angst about turning another
That's good.
year, because what's the alternative?
Yeah, it's better than the alternative.
Yeah.
But so going back to the, using up all the yeses in the 90s, I have theories about how what the universe will do is it'll give you a gift, maybe a few.
Yeah.
They jump out at you. And you, if you're me, say, well, of course. This is what I've been waiting for. The universe sees my greatness.
Right.
What you do not understand, most of us at the time, is that this is not just the way it's going to be from now on.
Right.
And
I never took it for granted. I never thought, oh, I'm on my way. I mean, I think a little bit, but not really. Not in a way that I think it goes back to, I put this together maybe 10 years ago. I was an accident kid. There were 5 in a clump, and then 8 years later I came along, and I never thought about it really, but I kind of, in terms of my relationship with my father, I felt a bit like a trespasser in my own home. He wasn't abusive, but I have no tender memories of him. And so there's this feeling of, I'm not supposed to be here. And what that did for me is I have to be hyper responsible. I cannot assume that I'm on the list. No matter how hard I work, no matter I have a book out, there's this thing inside that's like that there's been a mistake, and not because of your aspects or anything about you. It's just, you're awesome, but it doesn't matter.
Right.
There was a thing. So I think that was so ingrained in me that I never thought, don't you know who I am? Or I never really went down that road. I don't think. Maybe I have friends that are like, you were insufferable, but I don't think I was.
I don't think you were.
I think I knew that this stuff was really tricky and long shot from the jump, but also that there's a thing inside me that was like always a little bit outside, if that makes sense. Yeah.
And I mean, how wonderful in terms of gratitude, in terms of not taking things for granted. And, because I think I was so not conscious.
Because you had your book.
I got the universe.
The word party is in it.
The party girl.
Party girl.
The universe gave me a bunch of gifts.
Yeah.
And I, unlike you, thought, and I was the second child that was completely ignored. So I have no idea why it didn't work out that same way. But it was the opposite. It was like, God damn it. You don't see me. You don't value me. The world will. And sorry, I just got something in my eye.
That's okay.
And so I was like, finally, and I didn't understand, the first freelance story I did was for Playboy, and it was optioned in a bidding war and made into a reality show pilot. And I was like, yeah.
This is how it goes. Never
happened again. My first book sold in a bidding war within a week of me getting the agent,
Yeah.
Never happened. I mean, I sold future books, but so I didn't get it. But the times have changed. Obviously, there's millions of books being out. When your book came out, I mean, it was a special thing because there weren't that many.
I guess so, right? And because it had a major publisher behind it, it had a cover that was very eye-catching.
Yeah,
it was this classic vintage photograph of a woman's face, kind of a close-up, and then the eyelashes were daisy petals. And when the designer sent us the cover, I looked at it and I thought, what is that? Like, I think I was expecting a Hollywood sign, palm trees. I don't know what I was expecting. And I was like, so I was a little bit like, what? Confused by it. And then I just sat out on the coffee table and I kept looking at it and I was like, that's cool.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of cover that people will face front if you're in a bookstore.
Yeah.
So that was cool. There was a lot of cool things that came together, but And then I optioned it twice for television, and neither one of those went.
Yeah.
And one of the bummers of when I look at my career is that I was never able to realize a visual version of that. I've written scripts and things like that, but I never really yet. Yeah. I still have a dream about it. I still would love to do it.
And we should clarify, by the way, that the 213 is all but obsolete. For listeners who don't know, that was the only area code.
That was the area code of like, not the Valley, but Los Angeles, generally, Hollywood for sure.
323 did not exist. I remember when 323 came.
323 didn't exist. I don't even know if 310 really.
I think 310
310 was starting to happen.
310 was the fancy people.
Well, 310 was Beverly Hills and stuff like that, which is not the world of this book. These people are on the fringe of show business.
Yeah. And so what happened to that division? I've never heard of Rob Weisbach. What happened to him?
Well, he ended up moving on from there, and he was kind of orphaned he didn't have a setup for a while, and I wanted to keep moving ahead. So I had written some other columns for a magazine called British Premiere. It was Premiere magazine in England, called Screening Party. And they were where a group of friends would come over and watch Jaws or Pretty Woman, and I'd write about this thing. Well, I wanted to work with Rob again, but he wasn't set up anywhere. So I'm like, I'll do this smaller book for Allison, was the gay and lesbian publication at the time. So I pitched them this book, Screening Party, where I would combine these movie party articles and thread a novel through it with the characters that come to watch these movies. And they went for it, and it was a much smaller deal. I think it was $5,000 total. And once I started working on it, it became much more ambitious creatively. Like, it was hard as hell, but I'm really proud of it, the way the novel kind of came through it. And I was like, if I'd known the book I was going to end up with, I might have aimed higher in terms of a more established or bigger publisher or whatever. But I hustled my ass off promoting that one and stuff as well. And I had a great experience with it, but it didn't, make money or anything. We had a TV deal with that didn't happen, but
it has been made. Hasn't some version of it been made?
I made it myself.
Tell me about that.
In like 2005, I had written a pilot script for it for how it could be a TV show. And then I had some friends that had just started to get into producing, and I invested my own money, and we made this pilot. I'm in it with different friends, and it played some festivals, and we used it as a tool I had a production company at one point partner with me to try to sell it, and we didn't sell it, but I'm proud that we saw it through. Like, I like things to exist in the world, and sometimes you get paid for them and sometimes you don't.
Right.
But I would rather have them exist than not,
Out of anyone I think I've ever known, you are the person who has taken creativity into every aspect that creativity can be taken.
Oh, that means a lot to me.
From board games that have become live games, to movies, to live shows, to books, to articles, to dancing, which is a different version of it. Yeah.
You know what? I'm at a point where these are questions that I'm reckoning with, because I am not set up for retirement in the way that some of my peers are. I have a number of peers who came to LA to be an actor or a writer or whatever, and they ended up like in a temp job at some production company, and they just stayed and moved up, and they're set.
Right.
I did all the things that I've been trying to do, or I did to the best of my ability, and I'm not. And I don't know and I think it's okay.
Yeah.
I think I could be done. The thing that I don't have is, oh man, what if I had gone for it? What if I had tried? I don't have that.
Yeah,
I could get hit by a bus tomorrow and be fine.
Yeah.
Just tell me where to stand.
It's funny because it's almost like, I don't want to, this is how I felt. Back in the day, the people who, quote, sold out, who became suits, who gave up the creative thing, I felt so bad for them. And then I sort of became one of them at about my mid-40s. I go, what's wrong with making money?
Yeah, no.
And
there's having health insurance and all of that stuff.
Yeah, and I really shifted. I would say it became more capitalistic. I was like, okay, almost the opposite of the lawyer who wants to kill himself at 30 because, he'd listened to his parents and didn't become, the writer. he wanted to become. But it's interesting how I remember those people when I was in my 20s. It's kind of like people who left LA in the pandemic. I'm like, couldn't hack it.
Yeah.
No, but who left LA before the pandemic. And then in the pandemic, I was like, oh, you escaped, you know, but now I'm back to loving LA again.
I think I am too.
Yeah.
Actually, you know, but I went through a whole journey around personal happiness and gratitude. And like, I've had enormous shifts. If things had fallen into place better for me, I would be a totally different person. The thing that I sort of hinted at before was the traumatizing event.
Yeah.
In 2010, I had kind of been scraping by and a little lost. And I got a job writing on the TV show Fashion Police with Joan Rivers. And it saved my skin. Like, I could exhale, and it was a hit.
Yeah.
I had done a lot of cool stuff that wasn't a hit. Nothing was, things got canceled, whatever. This was a hit. I liked the people I was working with. It was creative enough, you know, and it was financially the most I'd ever been paid consistently for anything. And in 2013, our show was not a Writers Guild show. We were on the E! Channel. The two other shows in our category on the E! Channel, Talk Soup or The Soup, and Chelsea Lately had gone Guild like the previous year. So now the Writers Guild was trying to get us to go Guild. I was a Guild member, so I was torn, you know. I was working on the show as a script consultant, and they weren't going to kick me out or the Guild or anything, but I was like, it mattered to me that I was in the Writers Guild. It meant something. And there were freelancers working on our show. I was on staff, so my compensation and benefits and stuff was comparable to Guild. Like, it was decent. It was good. For me, it was the best I'd ever been treated. But there were freelancers that would contribute jokes on our show that were being so underpaid and undervalued. Like, they would get paid for one day's work, like $600 maybe, and work for 3 or 4 days on jokes for that episode. And, you know, and they were, and it was just the way it was. And Joan Rivers, a major talent and the reason that show succeeded. And I have so many great memories of working with her, but she wanted a lot of jokes. There could never be too many jokes. So anyway, it built to this impasse. We went on strike. And I was torn between my job and my profession. And it blew up my life in a way that I'm still feeling. Like, my best friend was the head writer and my roommate. He moved out 2 days later. And, you know, and I ended up not working for a long time. And I started having all these physical problems, sinusitis and digestion and all this stuff. I started taking, I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but you'll relate to this.
Yeah, we talked about it at dance class, but I don't really remember the details.
I had, before I got the job on Fashion Police, I'd had a bout of anxiety and depression, and I started taking Effexor, and it helped me, along with a microdose of Klonopin, like a smaller thing, whatever. Yeah. So I was going through this thing post-Fashion Police strike. I wasn't getting work, and there was a part of me that I started to put together that blamed myself, that I did this because I wasn't a good boy. Because the way I was going to get through the world, feeling a little bit like a trespasser in my life, see the stuff about my father, was I was going to be a good boy. I was going to be creative and work hard and be a good boy. And the strike, I went against my bosses. You know what I mean? Like, I stood up for myself in a real way for the first time, and it did a number on my nervous system. And so every day that I wasn't working was confirmation that I shouldn't have done that. Wow. That I, you know, that I had broken my own survival rules, and it did a number on me. So I I tried Klonopin again to see if that would help. And it was like a month, and I was like, I don't think this is right. This isn't the right thing. And I couldn't come off it. It was like those brain zaps, and I was taking a small amount. Like, substances have never been my thing. I couldn't come off it, and I was overwhelmed, and I was alone, and I finally just called the hospital, and I said, I need help. And they were like, okay. And what that meant was rehab. That's how they would treat that.
Yep.
And so I went through rehab for a drug I'd been taking for a month and a half.
Wow.
And I was in there with alcoholics and drug addicts, and I was I was not in the wrong place.
Yeah.
I needed a place to fall apart. I spent time in the hospital and I thought I was going to die, you know? I thought I was going to die. And I thought they would do an autopsy and then it would say that he died of disappointment. That's what I thought I was going to die of. So when I started to come out of it and get better and find things that help, and when I started treating it like trauma and not depression, I found things that helped.
Yeah.
I found a medication that helped. I went to somatic experiencing. I started mindfulness-based stress reduction at UCLA. I discovered meditation. I got really into the science of happiness, all of that stuff. It's a little woo-woo, but I got into all of it. And it helped me so much.
Yeah.
And it changed my relationship to success. It changed my relationship to creativity. I now move through the world totally different. Mm-hmm. But if that hadn't happened, if I hadn't gone through that, I don't think I would be this person.
Yeah.
And I thought I wasn't going to make it, you know? And so I think, in one of the earlier conversations we had leading up to this, you mentioned that a lot of people talk about disappointment.
Yeah, or trauma.
Trauma.
In relation to writing.
Yeah. And I think being able to deal with disappointment is what, having a plan, having a toolkit for that is what I think is the most important thing if you're going to pursue this stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's more important than like,
Talent
or knowing 3x structure or whatever it is. I think it's the most important thing. And I've come to a place where I feel like I figured out how to live. And now I have no idea how to make a living. It's different, but I figured out how to live and it's evolving, but I'm like, oh, okay, these are the tools. This is the approach. And I've landed here. Doesn't matter what I get or how things go.
Yep.
All that matters is who I'm being. If I like who I'm being and I'm bold and I'm kind and I'm all the things that you step up in that way, you know, inside, then the show might go, might not go. That thing won't work. And like you mentioned the game that I co-created with my friend Jeb Havens called You Don't Know My Life. During the pandemic, we started hosting virtual games and you were one of the first ones. And it led to a whole thing. Right. So you hosted one of the very earliest ones, and then one of your friends on that game hosted another game.
Yep.
And there was a development exec on there.
Yep.
For a big company.
Michael
Costigan, who I adore. Never met in person. We did Zooms and we did the whole thing. So he optioned it for Jason Bateman's company.
Yep.
Partnered with this other production company that does game shows really well, Eureka. And we did pitches. And how I was in this whole process was all that matters is who I'm being. So I was always energetic. If I had an opinion about something, I stepped up. In the past, even if it was my book or my project that was on the table, I would always defer to the more experienced Hollywood people. And in this case, there were times where I was like, I'm the expert on this. And so I would say, there was something I said in the pitches that was important for me to say. And I did. So I could stand by, okay, I stepped up in the way that I wanted to through this process. We pitched these different networks and all of that stuff. And I felt really good about the pitches and it didn't go.
Yeah.
And I got that email saying, well, we kind of ran the course. And I was sad about it for about 5 seconds. I can't believe that.
Yeah.
There's a time when that would have I would have been down for a year.
Yeah.
Because I've changed the way I keep score. I don't keep score of wins and losses and yeses and nos. And like, there's too much, it's too hard. The chances are too slim. If you want to keep going, you got to let it go and just kind of keep going and do shit for the sake of doing it.
That is so brilliant. It made me think of so many things, this idea, I know with my first book, I had all the expectations in the world.
Right.
And when they weren't met, I went around going, I didn't get what I deserved. That was my refrain. And then one day, a few years into that refrain, it occurred to me, what if I've gotten more than I deserve? What if I think of all the talented people who never got the book deal? who are probably more talented than I am. And then I start, and I was so jealous and I wanted this and I wanted that. And then I kind of became friends with a lot of those writers that got all that. And I saw they're just struggling along for the next thing too. What I want is happiness. And I've learned no thing gives me happiness. No. So what's the point of being jealous of it?
Right.
So,
yeah.
And I think you're right. I think making it as a writer or making a living as a writer is so, I do think it was possible for a time. I did it for a time.
Right.
And it was good. But it's so impossible that you better have a rolling with it attitude or you'll be miserable.
Yeah. Yeah. I recently interviewed this woman for my podcast named Stephanie Elizondo Greist. And she wrote a book called Art Above Everything. And she goes around the world and interviews all these women who have dedicated their lives to their art, whether it's dance or painting or whatever. And they sacrifice all kinds of stuff for it. Financial freedom, family, all this stuff. And is it worth it? And I was so moved by this. My friend of mine saw an article about her and said, oh, you have to have her on your podcast because this is what you talk about all the time. Is it worth it? Was there another road that I was meant to be on?
Yeah.
So one of the things she said, she said this, and I hope I get it right. She goes, she teaches now. And she goes, this is something I tell my students. Because what I said to her is, I'm like, even the safe road isn't that safe anymore.
Yeah.
She goes, listen, everything is essentially impossible. So if everything is impossible, then anything is possible. And that's what I try to tell my students, right? If you accept that it's all impossible, that it's all, then it's kind of like, yeah, but I like doing it. So I'm going to just try.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Trying is one of my big values. Like, it's cool to try. And the result, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the result is karma. Why do some books take off in crazy, crazy ways? I guess it was that writer's karma. Yeah. Because it's usually not their talent or anything, but just sheer randomness.
Yeah.
It seems. Well, this has been amazing. When you came in, you said, I don't know that I have that much to say about publishing today.
I don't know about the publishing world, but I have a lot to say about creativity and resilience.
Yeah.
I feel like that's where I've landed. And so I started this second podcast called Dennis Hensley's Happy and Gay. It's a Substack and Patreon thing where I talk about some of these ideas around happiness that have helped me, like just like little tools and tricks and things that have helped me kind of move through the world. Like, I don't care that much what happens.
Yeah.
But you do need to have enough money to live. Like, and that's like, kind of, that's a real problem. That's a thing we need as humans, but I'm proud that I just keep going.
Yeah.
I don't know what the other option is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love that. So people who want to find you, there are so many creative outlets, but just Dennis Hensley is the place.
DennisHensley.com. I have my podcast, Dennis Anyone with Dennis Hensley. I have a new project, and can I just share a little about it?
Please.
Okay. So I have this new game that I created called Search Party, and we're trying to get pre-orders now to pay for the printing and have it here by Christmas, like we did with You Don't Know My Life. And I came up with this one on my own, but my partner Jeb, who helped me with the other one, is helping me with some parts of it. But in terms of like selling it and trying to get the pre-orders, it's not going well. And I was like, are we going to pull the plug, or do I have to find a new way to kind of ask people to do it? Do I need to, because at the beginning of the year, I thought, do I try to do this year? Everyone's freaked out. It's such a dark world. And then I'm like, no, just keep going. Like, do something. Maybe it'll bring people together. It's something to look forward to. So I decided to do it, but I may have to pull the plug. And I'm reckoning with, like, what do I do? Should I go online and beg? Is that a thing?
Well, yes, but also, what if it's not on your timetable? What if it's not by Christmas?
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah.
I mean, just to stick with the theme.
Yeah. No, being like okay with whatever happens.
And with not giving up, which is what you've been talking about. So pulling the plug is probably not the correct phrasing, but kind of waiting to see when it unfolds.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Because even as it even as this has happened, this is because here's what I thought. We did it before. We don't need as much money this time because it's a smaller game, whatever. I thought, oh, it'll work like it did before.
Yeah.
And it didn't. Like maybe it's not as appealing of a game, but I don't even think people are really engaging with it. I think it's just a different time and whatever. And so it was like, oh shit, I thought we knew how to do this, or I knew how to do this. And so, but even as it's landed on me today, and I have to figure this out in the next day or so, it's kind of like, oh, this is an opportunity. This isn't something bad that's happened.
Yeah.
This is a chance for me to step up or to figure this out or to be vulnerable and ask for what I want from people that believe in me and support me and would probably love this game. You know, you just don't want to, it just feels like a weird year to be like, help me with my Kickstarter. You know what I mean? But
what
maybe get over it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And also what you said, it didn't go like the last one. What goes like the last one in a creative project?
Well,
nothing.
Nothing ever goes like the last one. But you're constantly getting these lessons of like, you thought you had a foothold
down.
And you have to roll with it, and you have to sort of be bemused by it. Like, oh, well, like I get to, oh, well, so much faster than I used to.
Yeah.
And I used to keep score so differently, like, especially with like peers that were doing well. Oh, well, they had a big win. Well, I'll have one next year.
Yeah.
And then at a certain point, you're like, oh, you're Greg Berlanti. Good
right.
God, go with God.
Right,
like,
right.
You know what I mean? At a certain point, that game ends not well.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have to not keep score like that. I have to not keep score between wins and losses and yeses and nos. And they have this, and when is it going to be my turn? And I, like you said, that thing where you thought you deserved more.
Yeah.
There have been times where I thought that I deserved more. And, not just in terms of professional things, but romantic things or whatever. And that way of thinking doesn't serve me.
No.
It's what can I bring? Who can I be? Can I have fun? Can I go for things? Can I be bold? Can I stand up for what I believe in? Can I be generous of spirit?
Right.
Like that's where it's at for me. And it's still super uncertain. So you just kind of keep going.
I do have a crass bit of advice for how to get people to donate.
Yes. No, I'm looking for ideas. Like, I'm like, okay, this is an opportunity to figure out something.
Well, so you have a great newsletter that you send out.
I do.
So, and it's chock-a-block.
And tomorrow's my birthday, so I can kind of milk that.
Put nothing on it, but I need your help.
Yeah.
Or even better, my game is in trouble.
Yeah.
Because that's vulnerability.
Yeah.
I don't want anything for my birthday except support.
Yeah.
It feels super uncomfortable because I feel like I'm begging, but I'm just going to do this and see what happens.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People respond to my
no, because I think it's a lot of people are like, oh yeah, of course I would do that.
Yeah.
It's just not a comfortable place to be.
Well, as someone who's on your newsletter list, I look forward to that tomorrow, and I look forward to supporting it because that's what I'm going to do. Well,
thank you very much, Anna. And your early support of that led to that whole thing.
I know,
and it was incredible.
Love that.
I still believe in it. It was a good experience. And there was a time when I would think of it as like a failure or whatever, but it was a journey and it was a thing. And I've gotten better at managing no. Like it's become like, if things had gone smoother for me, I would be a different person.
Yeah.
And I like all of this stuff. I like these ideas.
Yeah.
I feel like it's really meaningful and something that I can share with people. But if things had gone good for me, I would have been.
They have.
Totally. Like if I'd fallen into place more professionally.
Well, okay, we got to wrap up.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dennis. This was a delight.
We didn't even talk about dance. We could bust some moves together.
Oh my God. We had so much fun those years.
I did 2 commercials this year as a dancer. I made more money this year as a dancer than as a writer.
No.
Isn't that crazy?
What commercials?
There's one on the air right now for Las Vegas called Welcome to Fabulous. And it's fabulous. It's a fabulous commercial. They flew us to Vegas. I did a self-tape because I have an agent now for dance.
You told me that. I love it.
It's crazy. I did a self-tape and I was like, this is stupid. I look dumb. I don't care. Well, I'll send it. And they fucking picked me. Oh, I swore. But,
you're allowed to.
And put us up at the hotel. And it's this wonderful story about a woman stuck in an office who imagines going to Vegas and having an experience. And then I did another one for another major brand. I didn't sign an NDA for it, but it hasn't come out yet. I'm line dancing behind a person.
Did you ever do, so we for many years did Ben Allen's Groove 3 class.
Love it.
Did you do the flash mob for Halloween?
I did. We did that together. We did Thriller.
Yes.
Was it at the YouTube space? Or
No,
was it the one at
Warner
Universal?
Brothers. Or Universal.
I
got paid as a dancer.
Yes.
I think they gave us $100.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Was so fun.
It was so fun. I remember that. We were all dressed up in costumes and stuff. Dancing, if you told me that was going to come back around in this way, I'd be really surprised. But I've kept it up, so I can still kind of do it.
I love it.
Yeah.
You're the only professional dancer on this podcast. Okay, y'all. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Behind the Book Cover. If you loved it, I hope you'll consider liking and subscribing because it helps more people find the show. And look, you can like and subscribe even if you only liked and didn't love it. But if you hated it, you can skip the review. Or who am I kidding? I'll take one from you too.
We'll talk about the money or the lack thereof, the research rabbit holes and who they pissed off. Behind the book cover, let's get weird, asking the questions that you've always feared.
Thank you so much to Anna David for having me on her podcast. You know, sometimes I forget that I wrote books. It feels like it was such a long time ago. I mean, I didn't even know what Goodreads were then. Now the game is so social media driven, and I see authors out there hustling on social media. And I was a super hustler, but I don't know if I had a book out now, how good I would be at the social media part of it. So I just think it's interesting. And thank you to Anna for letting me use it on my show. So I will see her hopefully in a hip hop class soon. All right. So this happened. I want to get a couple of plugs in for some past guests who had some cool things happen. A year or two ago, I had a group of guys on the show that created a web series called Open to It that was kind of a sexy gay web series. And they have a season 2 that just dropped on outtv.com. But apparently Frank emailed me. He's the creator of it. Frank Arthur Smith. And there is a 10-minute free, kind of sexy, he describes it as Heated Rivalry-esque episode of Open to It. It's the Open to Naked Parties episode, and it's on the Open to It YouTube channel, so you can check that out. The other thing is I interviewed a performer this past year named Margot Rose, and we became friendly. She did a wonderful show called Unconditional, which is a musical about her family and her journey, and she suffered a horrible loss in her family and coming back from that. But anyway, it's been nominated for a bunch of awards on BroadwayWorld.com. So I went and voted for that, and I guess she's going to bring it back for one show in February. Definitely a highlight of the year for me in terms of things that I saw and people I got to meet. So if you're on Broadway World, go vote for her. She's in a bunch of categories in the cabaret area. And I was going through the ballot, and I was surprised at how many plays and musicals and things that I had seen that were on there, which is really cool. All right, so this happened. What am I going to end the year talking about? I have this idea for my Dennis Hensley's Happy and Gay. I'm going to read everything that's on my dream board because I cut out a lot of quotes and stuff throughout the year and put on there. So that's going to be on Happy and Gay. I'm just going to go through every quote that's on my dream board and muse on it. But for this, I thought I just finished watching the finale of Heated Rivalry last night. Everybody's talking about the show. Everybody's watching the show. It is a miracle of a show. It is. I kind of can't believe it exists, frankly, and that they did it so beautifully. These two actors who are now instant stars, like Connor Story and Hudson Williams, they play Ilya, the Russian. That's Connor. And Shane is played by Hudson. And they're these two hockey stars that fall in love over a number of years. It starts as a sexual thing and turns into love. And they did 6 episodes. I don't know. Like, I'm reading the discourse online, and people are talking about feeling healed by it. And I get it, because it is, I think it's really rare that we see the interior lives of gay men so beautifully depicted. Like, we know that there are obstacles in the outside world. Like, there's homophobia, or there might be taunts in a locker room, or a nosy journalist poking around. But this show is not interested in depicting those things. It doesn't pretend that they don't exist, but they're interested in the walls that these characters have up and how they finally let them slip and that they can love each other. And it's just, if you haven't watched it, you've got to watch it. I'm obsessed just like everyone else. It just feels like, how did this happen? Because the storytelling is different than other episodes, other shows. There's, like in writing, and I think about this a lot as I'm working on this play that I'm trying to write. A lot of times people are like, you've got to raise the stakes. You've got to raise the stakes. And I don't buy that all the time. I don't like when people say that, because sometimes the thing that's the most real isn't the most high stakes, but it feels like life. And you watch it and you're like, yes, everything doesn't have to be life and death. Sometimes it's little things. And when it's done beautifully, it is as compelling as somebody fighting for their life in a way. So the show does that beautifully. The humor in it is great. And these actors, they're not just handsome people that they're cutting around. They are fucking great. They're stars, One of them speaks Russian in the piece. Connor has to learn Russian, and he has this 4-minute long phone call, and he just kills it. So, and they were waiters a few months ago, both of these people. I don't know. There's something so healing and life-affirming. I mean, I keep seeing those words around, not just about the story that they're telling and the love stories at the heart of these episodes, because there's 2 love stories that are actually depicted, but just the fact that it got made and that it exists. And I understand they didn't have a lot of money, but they use technology beautifully. There's a sequence that happens in Vegas, and you feel like they're really in Vegas, and they're not in Vegas. But it's these actors, it just feels like, and the creators and how they trusted the source material. There must be something about this genre of romance fiction that they stuck to, and that you don't often see on television. I was trying to think of love stories on television. There was Nobody Wants This with Adam Brody and Kristen Bell. I haven't watched the second season, but I liked the first season a lot. But it's about 2 people and their relationship. That's the heart of it. But even that feels like there's secondary stories and there's B stories and other characters like conventional television. And this show was like, oh, we're just going to do the 3rd episode is going to feature totally different characters, and you'll see later how it ties in, but yeah, we're going to do that. And the finale is just going to be in one place, and it's pretty much just going to be them and maybe a couple of other characters. There's no B stories. I just feel like they reinvented a kind of storytelling that's just theirs. And the sex is very hot and very specific. And you know what dick's going in what hole and how that feels to that person, both in terms of the sexual turn-on of it and also the emotional part of it. And it's just I think we're thought that if something is sexy in a kind of dirty, primal, feral way, that it can't also have an emotional component, or that's not, if we're going to tell a real love story, it can't start with cruising in a shower. Yeah, it can. Yes, it can. I don't know. This show feels like a miracle. So if you haven't watched it, I highly recommend it. I know people that are watching the episodes multiple times, and so am I, and I couldn't be happier for everyone involved. And it's just something that slipped through. God bless Canada. And then HBO picked it up, and I hope these guys are making a ton of money, because they're going to be huge stars, and I know they probably made hardly anything for the first season. So God bless them. All right, so I'm super into that. What an interesting way to end out the year, with a gay hockey show. That is just wonderful. And there you go. All right. Thanks for listening. Shout out to Oscar Rosario, who's been mixing my episodes all year. My theme music is by Mark Daniels for Placement Music. We will see you next year on Dennis Anyone with Dennis Hensley. Bye.